Hey everybody, what is up? How's it going? Hope you're having a fantastic day today, fantastic week. It's March. Last month of Q1. What is going on? What is working for you? And everybody, listen, if you just found this show, I'll tell you real quick. What we do on the show is we talk with people who are killing it in business, killing it in life, and we deconstruct what they're doing. And we do all that so hopefully you can get that edge. You can learn something from people who have walked the path before and give you a little bit of motivation in your day, a little bit of strategy and tactics that you can implement right now. Okay, today's episode, here's what we go over. We spend quite a bit of time, and as you guys know, all these interviews are completely organic. I don't have any agenda before we hop on the call, and I don't know what we're going to talk about. We just so happened to stumble on the notion of surrounding yourself with great people. Great people that is your colleagues, great people on your team, great mentors, and we really kind of unpack, what is it, that top 20% of what you can do in your day, in your life, in your business that accounts for 80% of your results. We talk about how having those great people around you keeps you motivated, how having great mentors keeps you laser focused, and we talk about what's working for him today. And for him, one of the things he talked about was staying on top of your database and how in your business. We all have multiple spokes in our business, but at the end of the day, your database is your most valuable spoke. So how do you stay on top of it? How do you stay in front of it? And I'll tell you, one of the best ways is just dishing out great content. Well, how do you do that? There's lots of ways. You can write an article if you're a good writer, or you can do a podcast just like this. Yep. And we can help you with that. Today's sponsor is ViralCast. ViralCast with a K. Go check it out. Completely done for you podcasting service. If you want to get access to people that you would not normally have access to, have a show. If you want to develop deeper connections with your database, get more credibility, do a show. If you want to get exposure to brand new people that you would never normally have exposure to, start your podcast, completely done for you service. Go to viralcast.com. And right now they're doing a completely early bird deal. Normally it's $2,000 as a setup fee. Yeah, I know it's expensive. It's $500 after that. Totally worth it. But a website gets built. We submit a show to iTunes, to Stitcher. We help you develop the strategy for the show. We even send you a microphone. Right now, there's an early bird special. That setup fee is not $2,000; it's $1,000. So if you want to save $1,000 and pop it out, fire it up, turn up the heat on your business, go start it up. Go to ViralCast. All right, let's get to the show. Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. Yeah. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Really quickly, before we get to the content, you're not going to want to miss future episodes like this one. So what do? You know what? Get on my database. Go to superagentslive.com, download my free book, join the free membership site. We have some pre-listing package stuff there. We have some tracking stuff. It's all free. So go do that. While you're there, you know what? Why not subscribe to the show? And if you're so inclined, if you've listened to the show, you know what really helps us? We're always hovering about 100 on iTunes. And look, that's an achievement. There are hundreds of thousands of shows out there. And in the ultra competitive category of business, we're always about 100. Your reviews help us get this out to more people and to get better rankings. So I'd love for you to go to iTunes, submit a review. That would help the show. And hey, you know what? Every now and again, we do a shout out for those people. All right, let's get to the content. Today on the show, I'm excited to talk to today's guest. Now, look, here's the deal. Not all of you out there have teams. And sometimes, I talk with you guys. I get emails all the time. I don't have a team. How many deals can I really do? Now, today's guest, it's him, 2 agents, and he's got 3 assistants. Now, here's the deal. Just that small skeleton crew, last year he did 200 deals. The year before that, 465. We're going to talk about why he's moving kind of in the wrong direction. But one of the things, he doesn't know this yet, but one of the things we're going to dig in on is systems and processes. There's no way that a small team like that can do 200, 300, 400 deals without having absolutely bulletproof systems. I'm thrilled to welcome today's guest, Bruce Mcalpin. Hey, Bruce, thanks for taking the time out.
My pleasure.
Now, listen, I've given the audience a nuts and bolts overview of what your business looks like, and I'm really excited to talk to you about what's working, what's not working, and those systems that I alluded to. But before we get there, I'm always curious about you. So give us some insight into who Bruce is.
50-year-old white middle-aged middle America Minnesotan. College educated, retired officer in the Army, 5 kids.
Ooh.
And work hard. That's really what we are. That's what I am. I got a great team. What I call a team, I know it's not quite, 100 agents working for me, but everyone is very efficient. They're very fluent. They're smart as whips. They should all be doctors. And I'm very proud of them.
So okay, you have a pretty college, military, all that stuff, and you have more kids than you do team members. You're a busy guy. College, really quickly, what'd you study there?
Business and history.
Business. So was that a dual undergrad majors?
Well, I had went and finished all of my pre-studies in business, and then decided I didn't know if I wanted to be in business. So then I transferred to a history major. And that's why I say college educated, because I have 269 college credits and no degree.
Okay, got it. And why? How come you quit at the last minute?
I had to fulfill my military commitment.
Okay.
So I went to ROTC, and that's a 4-year commitment, and then you had to do your 4 years of being in the military. So when I made the switch, I needed the 5th year, of which I never finished the 5th year.
Got it. Okay. And by the way, if you like history, this is really off the topic, but I know that you don't listen to this show, which hopefully after this interview you'll realize that you should. But if you listen to podcasts, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History is unbelievable, man.
Okay.
I'll send it you. I'll send it an email, but you should really start listening to that. It's really a wonderful podcast. Okay, so you again college educated. You didn't finish. You went back into the military. Did you do your 4 years and then get out of the military?
I ended up doing the 3 because after the first Gulf War, we were asked as officers if we wanted to retire early, and I did.
And then did you get into?
I actually almost regret today, but at the time it sounded like a good idea.
Yeah. Now, did you get into real estate right after that?
I came home and opened a construction company, and I sold that in 1997, and I've been in real estate since.
Wow. Okay. So, and give us some quick I read your bio, but just really 30 seconds. Give us some overview about that, and then we're going to jump into real estate stuff.
Well, when I started my construction company, I think I built 3 houses the first year and mainly remodeled, did small stuff. By 6 years later, when I sold my construction company, I was doing. I had 70 houses either completed or under construction in the last fiscal 12-month period. So I sold it to a group, and they came in and took over the developments I was in, and they actually inherited the debt that we had for model specs, things like that, and one of the things about being a builder that I always noticed at closing is not everyone was really happy with the builder. Ironically, he tended to get the smallest checks. The biggest checks went to the realtor and the mortgage officer. So when I decided to sell my construction company, I thought, well, why am I fighting this? Let's get into real estate and mortgaging. So that's what I did.
And the other thing about that, Bruce, is that, it's very, the person or the group that bought your company inherited the debt, right? So being a builder, there is risk, right? You have market risk, environmental risk, all sorts of things. The interesting thing about real estate is no risk, literally zero risk and nothing but upside.
Yeah. I mean, I always worked with land. I mean, I was an engineer in the military. So one of the things that I still continued to do at the time was buy land, develop it, and sell lots, which really helped me, I think, as far as blossoming as a realtor, because I controlled the land, which, a lot of people ask me how to get into new construction sales, and that's what I always tell them, control the land. I mean, if you can control the lots, if you control the takedown schedule or whatever the buyers or the builders need, you can control a lot of what's going on in your real estate career. And that's just part of it. I mean, I do a lot of foreclosure. But one of the things I think when you still want to stay consistently busy is you have to have a handle on what's going on in your new construction market.
Got it. Okay. Now, so look, you're a successful guy. You're a successful guy as a builder, a successful guy as a real estate agent. This is going to be kind of a wacky question, but we've all, the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of our effort typically will yield 80% of the results. In both those endeavors, both real estate as well as in your building background, what do you think has been that 20%, that magical 20% that contributes 80% to the bottom line?
Surrounding yourself with people that have a great work ethic, surrounding yourself with people that are smart, honest, have great integrity, that they support you. Their sole motivations daily isn't just what's in it for me, it's what's in it for my team, what's in it for us. Those are the things I think that make the difference between someone that's struggling to be successful in our industry or someone that looks like everything magically appears in front of them. The people around them make, and obviously we pick the people around us, but the people around you are the most important part on a daily basis of what makes you happy, what makes you successful, what makes you want to get up and do this job every day. And I guess I don't want to just, shove it off on someone else, but without that motivation, this job would get tiresome.
So when you say surround yourself with hardworking people, ethical, integrity, all that, those are all great words and terms. Are you talking about on your team, or are you talking about as friends and colleagues and peers, right?
Well, specifically, I think I'm talking about the people that work with me and on my team.
Okay.
But I think I think in life generally, I'm talking about everything. But, that's not always as easy to do in life, but certainly on your team, you control that. So that would be something that, I think it's important. And I know a lot of successful real estate agents, and I think almost every one of them would agree, what makes me, a step above or a step ahead, or, what makes me think that, I'm more successful at closing or, getting transactions done. Those are the things that I think a team does for you.
Okay. I would agree with all that. And I think people listen to you and go, hey, Bruce, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I've heard that before. How do you go about, how does one, let's say that somebody's out there, they're doing 20, 30 deals a year. They want to level up and they want to follow your model, right? I want to get these great, hardworking, smart, integrity people on my team. How do they go about finding them?
Hopefully they help you by finding you, but a big part of it, I think, with finding them is when you're working with someone that you might see that they're going to be a rock star, and you think that what they need is what you might have to offer them, what you might want to say, like, I see that person doing 20 to 30 transactions a year, and I like what I see from them. I want them to be part of my team. I want them to help, me because I think I can help them. And if there's some type of mutual need and trust, that's the type of person that you might want to be around, or want, them to be around you. So, maybe that's probably the first point. The second point is, how do they speak? What's their email look like? What kind of car do they drive? And I don't mean like, is it a good car or a bad car? Because I don't even know what one is anymore. I drive an 05. So I think, it's that type of, mentality. Do they have aspirations beyond 20 to 30 sales? And why are they only at 20 or 30 sales? Not just what can they do to get better. Why are they limited? So asking those questions and delving into those, observations, I think that helps you qualify people.
Okay, marketing guy. Mike then puts them on an appropriate drip, which would be buyer, seller, whatever.
Yep.
So everything's very and then Jimmy is the person who takes the photos. When you get a listing, right? Takes the photos. So with a small team like you have, are you able to silo things off or batch it like that, or is everybody kind of like a one-man show a little bit?
Well, no, we don't really. The drip we do, I have, but I don't do it, with an agent or with a, with a prospect. What we try to do is meet with them, get them involved right away in what they're looking for, or what their listing's going to be. We try to keep that very personal. That's usually handled directly by Bonnie, my partner, or myself. We try to make sure that person isn't working with someone that really may not understand their marketplace. Some assistant. So we handle that right away. But a lot of that has to do with valuation. A lot of that has to do with when someone calls, they want to talk to the person in charge. We try to make that happen every time. And then from there, we may go where the property is managed a little bit more by one of our assistants, or not managed in the sense that they're doing the showings. We still handle most of that ourselves. And then I think it's one of the reasons, turning 10 listings into 20 sales is important to us, because we only need to do half of the work, originating the listings. So we try to turn every buyer lead. We try to turn every contact into originator prospect, is what makes us sell a lot more real estate in our area than an average team of our size.
So what are some of those things? So you're leveraging technology. It sounds like what are some of those things that you're using to get that extra leverage?
Well, we have some intercompany stuff. It's called a ProKit system. We have our local MLS has some great search options on it. We also have some automatic emails auto systems that we put in place. And a lot of it is, like I said, direct email. Where we're going through on a daily basis, weekly basis with our client base, and letting them. We make it easy for them, including our large portfolio clients.
Now, I'm a little, just for clarification, you were just explaining what you do with your prospects, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. What about when you get, again, you want to take 10 listings and get 20 closed deals, right? So you want to double it. You want to double end it. Now, do you have any kind of technology that you utilize with your actual sell?
Yes, we do reciprocity with all of the other brokers in the state. Yes, I mean, we do a lot of things that give us great exposure, and homes.com, but not as personal as we might with a normal mom and pop seller, or what we would detail as a retail seller.
Okay, yeah, and when I got it, and for me, I was asking more about there's Zapier, there's Trello, there's Sketch, there's Jing, there are all these little things.
Yep.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
All right. So let me ask you this, Bruce. What's working for you right now in your business?
6 to 18 months from now. So we're always looking at what's going to happen, 180 days from now. I'm not. I thought I kind of got an idea that we were going to see a little bit more new construction happen, and I don't think that traction has really gravitated as well as I thought it would, or even our market thought it would. So what's working now is we're still working REO. We're still pushing towards short sales. We're still sending out to cancellations, expirations. We're still doing real estate 101. And I think that is always going to keep you a productive real estate agent. As far as what I think is really working, I don't think there's anything that's really grabbing a lot more traction than any of those few items that I described. I mean, foreclosure is still probably and I hear how great our market is all the time. Well, if it was so great, I'd sell more than 2 to 4 houses a week. I still see a lot of apprehensiveness in our market.
Interesting.
And yeah, and I always hear about how great everything is, but I'm not quite one of those agents that's, saying we're at the top of the pyramid yet. I think we're somewhere in the middle. And then I think, underpriced listings obviously sell in a timely manner, but when we're at market value, we're still seeing things struggle a little bit. So, we're in a market that, I wish I'd sell all of my listings today because, boy, that'd be a heck of a year. Well, certainly a good month.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, I think again, so you are unique because that's not what's happening in the rest of the nation. That's not what's happening, man. You're a little bit of an outlier in that regard. Okay, got it. And look,
no, I agree with that. I mean, because I watch a lot of the media. I network with a ton of agents, and most of these guys are carrying 2, 3, 4 listings. They never have the volume, and a lot of them are selling multiple offers.
Yeah.
But for some reason right now we've had a big influx in pricing. I'm really at a term I use is called peak value. Peak value is the highest the house was ever worth at the time in the market at the highest part of our market, which is how I kind of look at stuff. What was the peak value of that house? Well, we're pretty close to that peak value again.
Yep.
In our area.
Yep.
And a lot of the people that I network with, if I would give them that term and ask them the value, they're probably still 10 to 20% below. Now, I know that's not true in certain areas like California, New York. It's not true here. It's not true maybe in Seattle. But if you go to Florida, if you go to the coast, East Coast, you're probably still substantially below what might have been considered their peak value. Those areas are selling fairly quickly, but a lot of it is a value buy. They've seen what's happened in this area or in the other areas, and we still have a big investor pool. We don't have a lot of cash transactions right now in my area.
Golly,
and
man.
because of that, we have a slowdown in our market. When we had Blackstone buying in the Midwest here, in the metro area, our market was hot, and they're really not buying properties because it doesn't fit their matrix anymore.
Yeah, man. I told you before we started recording, we have a radio arm, and with when we put an agent on radio, there always needs to be a hook. And I'll tell you that 6 months ago, we were using "We'll Sell Your House in 30 days." Basically. And I just got myself into trouble here. I may delete this. But so here's what we're doing in most markets, and this is working. We're very different in places like Denver and California than where you're at.
Yeah. I had a client just buy in Denver. I mean, they went out there and paid full price.
Yeah.
They had to.
Yeah, absolutely.
They could do. And really, if you look at past performance for the neighborhood they bought in, it was about 20% that they would have bought in 18 months ago. So that's a pretty good increase in value.
Yep. So look, what do you, again, you're 50 years old. You've been at this for a long time. What do you know now, Bruce, that you wish you would have known when you started, if anything?
Well, I actually was one of those people a few years ago that wondered if our market would recover. I kept looking around at the number of default properties that I saw and thought, wow, this is going to take us a while. And I should have been that naive. I think that I'm impressed with the amount of value that we've gotten back over the last 2 years. I'm actually amazed by the amount of value we've gotten back in the last 2 years, and I'm happy that we've gotten back that value because it certainly has been very good for our economy. But I'm a little I see history repeating itself in a little bit with the
Yeah.
fact that we've seen prices go up, down payment amount go down, interest rates are starting to creep up. So we're kind of, if I would look back on history, and say well, I've sold most of it in the last few months. I think that would have been something. As far as real estate in general,
Given your 30-year-old self.
Find a better mentor.
Okay.
No matter who you think you're working with, always look for a better mentor. I think I had a very good one. I'm not even sure he was my mentor, but
Right.
It was one of those people. I looked at the models that he put in place. I don't mean model homes. I mean models of success. And I watched him from afar, and I zeroed in on a lot of things that he did, developing, building real estate, mortgaging, how he helped out people with their entry into a lot of the different positions that they became, like, new builders, new realtors, and I really liked a lot of the things that he did. And when I developed land, I literally completely followed to the T, what he did, and was very successful. Every development I had sold out in less time than I ever really anticipated. They were more profitable than I ever anticipated. I was able to do all of that. A lot of it was, knowledge that I got from either being in the military, college, past performance. But a big part of what I did was based on a model that I could follow, that I could decipher. And, he said that.
His thing is like work-life balance kind of a stuff. So, he never, it's amazing. He's a very, very, $5,000 a month kind of a guy. And we have two 30-minute calls. So he basically I pay him $5,000 an hour. Anyhow, I don't want to get off track there. So find a better mentor. Now you said a couple of interesting things. You learned from this guy from afar. So he didn't know he was, he was mentoring you. How does somebody, and I don't know how you really do that. If you did it from afar, how did you figure out what his secret sauce was?
Well, when I was still a builder, when I kind of put two and two together and thought, boy, this doesn't look that hard.
Yeah.
But I know how hard it is. And, I'd go into his office and I'd just question him. I'd ask him questions. I'd sit down with him. And he was very open, and he was very, he's taught me how to structure land deals. My biggest land deal, a 100-acre deal, $17,000 an acre, $39,000 per site for land costs and underground costs. The biggest check that I wrote out of pocket to start and finish that was $2,000. The profit on it was almost $2 million. That all came from someone like that. How to get the land seller to participate in an equity stake.
Right.
How to get the bank to accept that as part of the contract. How to, because if I'd have needed to write the check for it, I would have never been able to do it. But I saw how he did it. I saw how he invited his builders in, how he made them take lots down even before the streets were in, how he did commitment levels, and how he used other people's money as, to leverage his profit. And I did the same thing.
Wow.
But I was smart enough to realize what it is he was doing and how he was doing it. It's not like he spelled it out completely. I had to read between the lines on a lot of it. Got it.
Yeah, I'll briefly tell you about a deal that I did in late '09, man. Yuba City, right out of Sacramento. A builder went belly up on a $73 million deal. 73. 525 fully developed lots, right? Curb and gutter in, undergrounds in, ready to go vertical, 66 houses, and another 420 paper lots. Me and three other people bought that for $3.2 million.
Right.
And spent the next 4 years getting rid of it. And that's one I wish I would have kept some of that, man. I didn't. I said, I'll just cash out and take my profits. So you were smart and some advice on finding a mentor and then convincing them to mentor them. And look, I get these calls all the time, right? I get emails all the time. Toby, listen, I would love for you to mentor me. I can't do it. I got too much stuff going on. So for those people, is there some kind of model that you've seen or that you can recommend for people to go out and find a mentor, right? Because people may go, well, I don't know what to look for. And then two, convince these people to spend 10 minutes a week with them or 30 minutes a month. I don't know.
Well, the first thing is if you're looking for something like that, make sure that you're not making it work for the people that you're
right.
that you're looking at, because then they won't appreciate it and you'll never grow with it. Second thing is, realize that it might be something that's 10 minutes a week for, 10 weeks, and then you're moving on to someone else. Because we learn a little bit from each person that we work with or speak with, and if we're smart enough to learn a little bit, it grows quickly. And I think that, when I'm specifically talking about they had something special, and they had little things that I wanted to learn. And I think that's what I would look for. I would meet with people if I see their success. I would, try to spend some time with them. I wanted to, just get a better understanding of what successful developments I'd have made the money, and I still been happy. But, in the meantime, I didn't have to make those payments. So getting out of something, I think, is a great deal at times. But risk, it's hard to categorize that. I mean, I wish I paid less in taxes.
Yeah.
But risk-adverse people are always going to be risk-adverse. You're not going to change that.
Got it.
I think what you can do, if you're risk-adverse, is be a teacher. Go out and get your nurse's license. I mean, there's a lot of jobs that you can do that are really, probably meant for risk-adverse people.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like you're risk-adverse, and
No.
You're not going to fix that person. They'll never be able to sleep at night.
I've just had enough wins. I mean, in college, I won't tell the story, but in college, I had this thing happen to me and I had a business. I had a business during college, and I had 2 week, and I went from negative to all of a sudden having $20,000 worth of work, which about 40% of that was profit. And again, I did this in 1 weekend until I can get match my current income, and then I'm going to go full time. What advice would you give to that person, right? Because they're not super risk averse that they need to get a teacher's job, but they again, this is a scarcity mindset rather than an abundance. And maybe they have a wife, maybe they have a couple kids. What would you say?
Broker, and the broker was his mentor, and then eventually, and then his broker said to him this, Tom, what I want you to do is think about all the people you've met and know. Okay? He goes, now I want you to think about knowing 10, 20, 30 times the amount of other people. And Tom looked at him, how am I going to do that? And the guy picked up the big phone book, threw it on his desk, and said, call 50 people a day.
Mm.
You'll be the most successful real estate agent in a year or two if you call 50 people a day. Now, you and I know we can't do that today, but there's other ways you can meet that. You can meet that demand. And what was striking to when I spoke to Tom about it, who is, by the way, a very successful real estate agent, even in his twilight years now, he said this. He goes, I never got to 50. He goes, there were days I'd hit 25 because all the simple things you do in real estate. He stayed in touch with his client base. He met new people all the time. He did a good job, and he has just not going to get the traction. Now, I see people that are successful that are part-time, but most of them work for a team, and they take buyers out nights and weekends. And success for them is probably labeled much different than for you or I.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. So let's say that person, and up the phone, I couldn't get him to do it. I just couldn't get him to do it. I stopped coaching him. I said, listen, I can't help you. I can't work with you. If that person would have quit, Bruce, and taken your advice to pick up the phone and start knocking on doors, how long do you think, as long as they had reasonable sales skills or reasonable interpersonal skills, how long do you think it would take them to get a listing?
It varies on your market, of course, because some markets you just don't have the listing volume that we do or that you might. But it shouldn't take that long, especially if you haven't already burned through your friends and family. You're probably looking at 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month, if you're really not afraid to go out and market yourself. and there's, I think there's a lot of ways to do that. You obviously can't go out and market yourself as the expert, but you market yourself as the hardest working real estate agent in the business.
Right.
Because that's such a subjective term that, you're honest about it, because you might be for that day. So, I think that if you push, if you are a salesperson, I'll be honest, I'm probably the worst real estate agent you'll ever meet, but I'm really good at sales. I'm really good at people. And
what are you talking? Wait. What do you mean? Explain that.
If you're good at sales, you can sell anything.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're good at real estate, all you are is limited to real estate. Now, a lot of what we do in real estate is, we might focus too much on the foundation of the house, which is important. But if you're going to be good in sales, you have to focus on the 100%. You have to focus from the roof to the foundation. And I think people that are really good at sales recognize that. They recognize what it is that they need to do to make this transaction and the buyer and the seller successful, versus just, where do we, what's in it for the deal.
Yeah.
And that's a fine line, but I think it's important to recognize.
Dang, man, I wish we would have got to that earlier. I would have loved to talk about your philosophy on sales, man. But we just don't have enough time now. I always ask for a book recommendation, so hopefully you read. Here's the setup, Bruce. I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy today?
Outswimming the Sharks by Harvey McKay. Probably not that well known. It's not really a per se real estate book, but it's a sales book. It's about your network. It's about, now he's so old when he wrote it. He talked about business cards, portfolio cards, how to keep track of your client base. Everybody in our industry regrets at one point in time that they didn't keep track of their clients well enough.
Yeah.
His book talks about how you do that. What do you do in that book? He wrote two, Swimming with the Sharks and Outswimming the Sharks, both of them great. I mean, I also think, like, when you're talking about Buy Low, Sell High, Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot of really, actually in our office here, I started a book library because I read so many of these damn things that I started a library where people come in and check them in, check them out. And they're welcome to add to the library. I don't think anyone ever has, but I see people taking them in and reading them. And one of the books that I've referred to a lot, this is going to, it's The Art of War. It's a Chinese
Sun Tzu
book, and it's Sun Tzu, and it's about what how do you recognize what's in the heart of other people? I think that's a big part of that book. When you're trying to realize who your friends and enemies are, it's nice to have that perspective. I've gone back to it many times.
That's interesting. I have too. I think you probably understand it a little bit more than me. It's there's some stuff that some takeaways that I can digest. Most of them I just don't get. But yeah, and it's a quick read. I mean, everybody should read that. I mean, why not? It's one of those classic ones. And look, I'm going to talk to the audience really quickly. So, guys, if you want to, number one, I'm glad that one of the things, I'm back to you now, Bruce. So you're illustrating, even with your success, even at your age, you're constantly learning, and you find value in that. And I think too many people go, yeah, I know how to sell, I'm moving on. Yeah, I know how to do social media, I'm moving on. And there's always something, even if it's one nugget you can get out of reading, a 300-page book, you should do it. So, everybody, if you want to read Harvey McKay's Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive, outsell, outmanage, outmotivate, and outnegotiate your competition, get a free copy on us. Just use our link. Just go to audibletrial.com/superagentslive and get a free Audible copy. Hey, Bruce, look, man, it's been great spending time with you. I always encourage my audience, if they've gotten anything out of this episode with you, to reach out and say thank you to you. And I'm sure... I don't want you to give your phone number because we've talked about mentoring and blah, blah, blah. I have my senses you're going to get a lot of emails going, geez, hey, Bruce, can you mentor me? But look, where can people find you?
Just email me at Bruce Mcalpin, BruceMcalpin, at EdinaRealty.com. That's EdinaRealty.com.
Perfect. And guys, if you're walking the dog, riding your bike, or driving to work, all this stuff will be on the show notes. Just go to superagentslive.com and look for Bruce Mcalpin. Hey, Bruce, I'll be the first to kick off the thank you train. Thanks, man. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, so I appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to share with me and my audience.
No problem. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Let's keep in touch.
Bye.
That's it.
Let's go.